I took time off work to prepare the house for the holidays. Our daughter Casey is coming home from college tomorrow. Casey is in her final year of college, and my wife and I are looking forward to her coming home for the holidays. We haven't seen Casey since October when we visited her at college. My wife Diana has been working a lot of overtime over the past few months. The company she works for is considering buying one of its competitors. Diana is a project manager and is responsible for conducting a comprehensive review. Her report to the board will help determine the purchase price. It's a pretty big job that requires long hours and several trips to the target company's headquarters in Phoenix. The last 4 months have been tough on Diana and me. I miss my wife. We usually close Casey's bedroom door after she leaves in the fall. There's no reason to use that room. I decided to vacuum and wash the room before making the bed. I lifted the comforter so it wouldn't get caught in the vacuum cleaner, and that's when I saw it. Leaning forward, I whispered a prayer that it was just a popped balloon, but when I got closer, I realized it wasn't. My next thought was disappointment that Casey had had sex in our house. She didn't have a steady boyfriend. Maybe it was one of those friends with benefits that young people talk about these days. With my thumb and forefinger, I carefully picked up the condom from the floor, brought it up to my eyes, and stared at it. My head was spinning, and I'm sure I screamed, "What the hell? What the hell? What the hell?" I had to sit down on the bed for a moment. This condom could only mean one thing. But the thought that my Diana was cheating on me was unimaginable. We had been married for 22 years, and she had never given me any reason to worry about her fidelity. Sure, she's 43 and men still hit on her. The only wrinkles on her face are laugh lines. She worries that they make her look old, but I tell her they only accentuate her natural beauty. She smiled that smile and kissed me when I said it. Her body is as toned as it was when we got married. Before this damn project, Diana spent 3 days a week at the gym. Last spring, we took 2 weeks off and went to the Bahamas. Diana turned heads in her tiny bikini. She even treated me to a day at a nude beach. That night, we had sex like newlyweds. We didn't even make it to dinner. So why am I sitting on our daughter's bed with a damn used condom in my hand? I shook my head to clear my thoughts and went to the kitchen to get a plastic bag. The condom was in the bag. The bag was in an envelope, and the envelope was at the bottom of the freezer in the garage. It was the only thing I could think of. Keep the evidence just in case. Damn, I didn't even want to think about the consequences. Divorce? Would I be able to forgive Diane? What if she didn't want to be forgiven? What if she was in love with this guy? I was completely thrown off balance. It had all happened so suddenly. Like a robot on autopilot, I went upstairs and finished cleaning Casey's bedroom. After I made the bed, I still didn't know what to do next. I called my brother and asked if he wanted to have lunch with me. Dave works in the city. He was happy to hear my voice and gladly agreed to leave the office for lunch when I said I was crying. Dave and I sat down at a secluded table. I leaned toward him and said quietly, "Dave, this isn't going to work. This is between you and me, you understand?" "Of course, Al, what's going on?" I told Dave what I had found, and he sat there with his mouth open. "Al, I can't believe this, not Diana. She loves you, man." "I thought so too. But how else can I explain what I found? It's just the two of us living in the house. The only visitors we had this fall were the Johnsons, and they stayed in the guest room. I don't think they would sneak into Casey's room for a quickie." "What are you going to do?" "I think I'll talk to Diana when she gets home tonight. I can't imagine how I'm going to act like nothing happened." No, don't do that. Accusing her without proof is the last thing you should do." "Why?" "I'll tell you why. 2 months ago, I came home from work early. When I walked in, I thought I heard the back door close. At first, I thought Janet had gone out the back door, so I went to the kitchen, but then I heard her calling me from upstairs. I went upstairs, and there was Janet standing there in her bathrobe. I asked her what was going on, if I had caught her with someone else. I was furious. Janet lost her temper. She yelled at me for several minutes, asking how I could accuse her, the mother of our children, of such a thing. She berated me for even thinking such a thing. She didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. 3 weeks without sex and almost without kisses. The house was freezing cold until she finally let me out of the doghouse. Of course, I still suspected her. I didn't let her know, but after that I kept my eyes wide open. I don't know if Janet realizes it. I hope not. But for the last 2 months, I've been following a strict plan. What plan? I checked her closet, checked her phone. I checked the bedroom for signs of sex. A couple of times I came home unexpectedly for lunch. I started paying closer attention to Janet's appearance, any changes in her behavior, in our intimate life. Where the hell did you get that list? I found it on the internet. It's amazing what you can find there. I just typed cheating wife into Google and got a bunch of nonsense, including this list. During this entire conversation, our waitress came and went, took our order, brought our lunch, and brought the check. All the while, I noticed that she was eavesdropping. Finally, when she brought the bill, she leaned over and said, "I caught my boyfriend by checking his phone. He and his girlfriend were constantly texting each other. He tried to deny everything, but there was too much evidence. I dumped him." I left the restaurant, not knowing what to do. I sat down in my office and started listening to Rachmaninoff. Classical music always calms me down and helps me think. Was there any other evidence of cheating? Anything besides one used condom? Of course, Diane worked a lot, came home late, and even went to the office on Saturdays. There were trips to other cities. What did Dave say? Any changes in behavior? And then I realized. Last month, Diana spent an hour in the bathroom taking a bath and primping. When she was done, she called me into the bedroom. I walked in and saw her in a silk nightgown I had never seen before. Diane melted into my arms and started undressing me. "Go take a shower and shave. Hurry." I quickly took a shower, shaved thoroughly, and returned to the bedroom. There were 4 candles burning, and Diane was lying on the bed with the covers thrown back. I untied the towel around my waist and joined her on the bed. We looked at each other and started laughing. Almost simultaneously, we said the same thing. That was wonderful. Then we laughed some more. As soon as we recovered, we went to the bathroom and took a shower together, kissing the whole time. That was a month ago, and until today's conversation with my brother at lunch, it hadn't even occurred to me that Diane had cheated on me. It was time to do some investigating. Diane was due back in a couple of hours, so now was the perfect time to start. First, I searched her closet, rummaging through boxes and bags. Nothing unusual except for a new bikini in a Nordstrom bag with the tag still on. Maybe she's wearing it for him in Phoenix? I'll be sure to check when she leaves town next time. Then I looked in her drawers. Again, nothing new. No new frilly underwear or nightgowns. No short dresses or tops I hadn't seen her wearing. No secret stash of condoms. By the time I finished searching, it was time to make dinner. Today was salad day, so it wasn't difficult. I opened a bottle of Burgundy Pinot Noir and sat in the kitchen, waiting for Diana to come home. When she walked in the door 15 minutes later, I couldn't believe it was the woman I suspected of cheating on me. She practically threw her briefcase on the floor, hugged me, and kissed me. Then I tasted the wine on her lips. "I'm so glad to be home. 2 weeks with the family. I turned in my report this afternoon. Everything's ready. I hope you don't mind, but I went to a restaurant across the street with my colleagues and treated them. I wanted to thank them for their hard work. I had 1 glass of wine and came straight home." She kissed me again. "Oh, honey, I've missed you so much these past few months." I put my arms around her waist and pulled her close. "I missed you too. Does that mean you're free for the next 2 weeks? No work?" "I hope so. But I wouldn't be surprised if I get a couple of calls I have to answer. With any luck, I won't have to leave the house. I promise I'll try to keep it to a minimum. I'm looking forward to 2 weeks with you and Casey. Has she called?" "I spoke to her this morning. Her flight arrives at 11 and we'll pick her up." "Does she have plans for tomorrow evening?" We talked about it. She's having dinner with us. She's looking forward to a home-cooked meal. After dinner, she's meeting some friends. She said she'll be all hours on Sunday. Diana and I had a wonderful evening. We drank a bottle of wine and almost opened a second one, ate salad, had a glass of cognac, and talked nonstop. During the conversation, I almost forgot about my suspicions. By 9:30, Diana was drunk and couldn't stop yawning. "Let's go to bed. I need to sleep." Diana fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. I stayed up reading. An hour later, she was fast asleep, and I did something I had never done before. I reached over, took her phone from the nightstand, and pressed the button to unlock it. It was locked. After that, I couldn't sleep for at least 2 hours. I couldn't get the waitress's words out of my head. I caught my boyfriend by checking his phone. Diana woke up before me and I smelled coffee. I went to the kitchen. "Good morning, sleepyhead. Up late reading?" "Sorry I fell asleep. I didn't realize how tired I was. I'll make it up to you when Casey leaves with her friends tonight, I promise." There she was again, all lovey-dovey. Is that how a cheating wife talks? But still, why was her phone locked? I decided to try a trick that had occurred to me at 1 in the morning. I took Diana's phone from the kitchen table. "Diana, I need to call Sandra's husband about the fly fishing rod he's selling. Can you give me his number from your contacts?" Sandra was one of Diana's co-workers, and her husband was an avid fisherman. I didn't wait for Diana to answer, but simply pressed the button that locked the phone. "Diana, the phone is locked. When did you start locking it?" "The password is the same as for the garage, 4002. I started blocking it when I came back to my desk and found Kevin looking at photos on my phone. I left my phone on the desk while I was in a meeting, and when I came back, that little snoop was holding my phone and rummaging through my gallery. He was this close." Diana spread her fingers a centimeter apart. "From getting fired. Now he has a warning in his file, one more violation and he's gone. I didn't tell you because it's a personnel matter and we've always treated such matters as confidential." I dialed 4002 while Diana was talking, and the phone opened. "I would have fired him. You're too soft." "I probably would have, but he just had a baby. I hope he takes advantage of this second chance." "Good luck." I wrote down Sandra's cell phone number and decided to call her later to finish the story about fishing. Well, I could use another fishing rod. I didn't hang up. "What's so interesting about the photos in your gallery that they almost got a guy fired?" Diana laughed. "I wish. There are no nude photos of my lover. No selfies. Just a couple of photos from the flower show Janet and I went to last month and some cute pictures of Casey that she sent last semester. Your wife is boring." "No naked pictures of your lover?" I couldn't believe she said that. I kept scrolling through her gallery and she was telling the truth. There were only pictures of flowers and Casey. "Who the hell is your lover?" I hoped I asked that without betraying my irritation. Diana laughed again. "Come on, silly! Who else?" This woman was driving me crazy. We continued to chat about the dinner menu and other nonsense, while I continued to secretly look through her text messages. Diane didn't notice, and I didn't find anything. We picked up Casey from the airport and spent the next 2 weeks on a wonderful family vacation. We went to the mountains and skied. We spent 3 days snowshoeing in the Mathau Valley and nights in a rented cabin just a few feet from the Cheech River. Diane answered a few work calls and spent only 1 day at the office. The mystery of the hidden bikini was revealed when I opened Diane's Christmas present, 2 tickets to the Bahamas for early March. "And I have something special to wear when we get there." She embarrassed Casey terribly when she held up 2 small pieces of fabric. "Mom, please. That's too much information." I probably would have forgotten about the condom incident if it weren't for my brother. After all, Diane had done nothing but shower me with love and affection for the past 2 weeks. Diana and I threw a New Year's Eve party and invited a lot of neighbors. My brother came with his wife Janet. They lived in the neighborhood with their 2 teenage sons. I love most of our neighbors. We live in one of the few areas of Seattle where people actually take the time to get to know and socialize with their neighbors. There were about a dozen couples at our house that night. One of the few neighbors I couldn't stand, Ed Parker, was there too. The only reason he was invited was because of his wife, Sylvia. She's such a sweet woman that Diana insisted we invite them, even though Parker was a braggart and a womanizer. Not a fun womanizer, but one of those jerks you want to keep away from your wife because you know he'll seduce her if she shows bad taste and lets him. During the party, Ed Parker had a few too many and became overly talkative. He and Hank Jones went out on the terrace to smoke. We don't smoke in the house. Diane can hardly tolerate smoking on our property. And Ed bragged to Hank about some hot girls in the neighborhood. Dave was in the bathroom, the window was open, and Dave heard Ed's words. It didn't go any further because Hank got tired of Ed's bragging, put out his cigarette, and went back into the house. The thing is, ever since Ed quit his job at the bank, he had been a house husband, and Sylvia brought home the paycheck. So if there was anyone who had the time, opportunity, and inclination to have fun with the neighbors' wives, it was Ed Parker. The next day, Dave came over and told me what he had overheard. I stood there in disbelief when Dave asked, "Al, do you think that condom belongs to Ed Parker?" I can't imagine Diana with that scumbag. She knows I hate that jerk. She thinks he's a piece of shit, and besides, I don't believe Diana would ever cheat on me. But the condom? How do you explain that? I don't know. I just don't believe it was Diana. Well, if it was me, I'd want to know for sure. I couldn't live with a cheating, promiscuous wife. Watch your language, Dave. You're talking about my wife. Sorry, never mind. Dave didn't finish his sentence. He didn't want me to know what he was talking about. I thought about the used condom in the freezer. Could I get Diana and Ed's DNA to compare it to the DNA on the condom? It seemed unlikely. And would it be real evidence I could use in court if it came to that? I decided to take the path of least resistance. I was leaving town for 4 days the following week. If there was anything between them, they would take advantage of the situation. The salesman at the spy shop on Aurora was more than helpful, probably because I left the store with $1,100 worth of merchandise. I could install a small camera with a motion sensor in Casey's room. It wouldn't be noticeable among all the knickknacks on her shelf. It was a tough week, probably the longest of my life. I talked to Diane every night, and if anything happened, she was the best actress in the world. Nothing came out of her mouth except, "I love you, and I miss you." On Friday, she took the day off work and met me at the airport. We bought Thai food from our favorite restaurant and ate it in bed after having sex to celebrate my return. We spent the entire weekend catching up, but unfortunately, Diana had to fly to Phoenix on Tuesday to officially sign the purchase agreement. I'm sorry we couldn't do it while you were out of town. The lawyers didn't finish the paperwork until Wednesday. Once the ink was dry, it took the board a few days to arrange the trip. I'm flying out Tuesday morning and will be back Wednesday evening. That's too bad. I hope this is your last big project of the year. You've been working really hard. You're a star, my love. I loved this woman so much that I spent the entire weekend hoping and praying that all those recordings would lead to nothing. On Tuesday morning, Diana left at 6. I poured myself a cup of coffee and settled into my study to review the camera and voice recorder recordings. I started with the most likely room, Casey's room. The image appeared immediately. The date and time were Wednesday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 lovers entered the room and immediately began undressing each other. I watched in horror as at least 1, and possibly 2, marriages were destroyed. I had no idea how Sylvia would react to the copy of this video I planned to show her. I fast-forwarded through the scene, not wanting to see the details, but I needed to see how it ended, and at some points I was curious to hear what they were saying, dirty comments about their innocent spouses. So I fast-forwarded, paused, watched, and listened, then fast-forwarded again. Not that it's any of your business, but you're the third. I like men, and I love sex. I like how my husband takes care of me and the twins. We have a good life. but he only satisfies some of my needs. So we have to be careful. In October, he almost caught us. I like how my husband takes care of me and the twins. We have a good life. But he only satisfies some of my needs, so we have to be careful. He almost caught us in October. That was the last time we had sex at my house. And with your wife walking around all day, it's the safest option. The main thing is that my sister-in-law doesn't come home. That would be difficult to explain. I called Dave at work and asked him to come over after dinner. He came, and it didn't go very well. He cried for a long time, and we drank too much. I called Janet and told her that Dave was staying over. I didn't tell her why we were drinking, and she didn't ask. I won't go into details. On Wednesday, Dave and I took the day off. When he recovered from his hangover, we went to my lawyer and talked to a family counselor. Dave prepared the divorce papers. Some things worked in his favor. The twins were 14 and decided to live with their father. I was prepared for them to hear, but not see their mother confess to their father that she had been unfaithful. Fortunately, that wasn't necessary, as the boys decided to stay with their father. Since Dave got custody of the boys, the judge awarded him ownership of the house. He had to pay Janet alimony for 2 years, but it was only $1,200 a month for 2 years. Sylvia divorced Ed using the video I gave her. She stayed in the house and he moved out. Thank God, because Dave was looking for him. I heard that Janet tried to get Ed to move in with her, but he said he wanted nothing to do with a cheater. Diane and I did everything we could to help Dave get through the drama of that first year. Diane was especially helpful to her 2 godchildren. They both turned to her for advice. Even Casey helped her cousins after she graduated from high school in May. She spent the summer, her last with us before moving to Portland in September, offering advice from a girl's perspective. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I should tell you what I found on the other videotape and on the voice recorder. Nothing. Well, nothing harmful, and in fact, the voice recorder in our bedroom recorded several of Diane's phone conversations, at least her half of the conversations, while I was away on business. Diane was talking to her mother, Casey, and her boss. I won't go into details. Suffice it to say that this woman loves me, and I have nothing to worry about. She seems to think I'm a pretty cool guy. I never told Diane about my suspicions. Some things are better left unsaid. Of course, she now knew about the camera in Casey's room. I got out of it by explaining that I suspected Janet was using our house key to meet Ed, and I just needed to prove it. Diane seemed to believe my explanation until... It had been almost a month since all that shit came out. Dinner was over. Diane and I had a glass of wine and were relaxing, reading in the living room. Suddenly, Diane looked up from her book. "You thought I was cheating on you?" Oh, shit. I sat there like a deer caught in headlights. Diane sat in her chair staring at me, waiting for my response. "Baby, come here. Sit down on the couch. I'll tell you everything." I explained everything to her. The filled condom, my conversation with Dave and the nosy waitress, the locked phone, the overtime and the trips, everything that had been weighing on me. Then I told her that all this time I hadn't believed she could cheat on me. Despite all these strange facts and circumstances, she wasn't that kind of woman. Diane looked at me. I could see she was trying hard to understand. That's the kind of woman she is. She hugged me around the neck and said the magic words. "Alec, honey, I could never do that to us. I love you." And that was the end of it.